Bruce Kingsolver, writes under BR Kingsolver, 7 series that he has out now. And urban fantasy, I'm gonna let you talk about it more than me.
Urban fantasy is a very broad definition. Whenever I started writing it, I was told that my books weren't urban fantasy because my first series didn't have any magic in it. And neither did my second series. This book, the 5 books on the right over here, are set 200 years in the future. Okay, well, it's not contemporary, and there's no magic in it. Not that one. Oh. Second set. Second set over here.
Oh.
So then the E-Festival of Words holds a contest every year, writers competition, and somebody nominated my book, and I won for Urban Fantasy of the Year. So anyway, writing in series. In some genres, writing standalones is a sure method of staying broke. People just do not, readers in certain genres do not read standalone books, or if they do, they read them occasionally. But in urban fantasy, almost everybody is writing in series. I saw a report recently, just came out this month from K-Lytics, saying that 85% of urban fantasy books were in Kindle Unlimited. If you know what that is, it's a subscription service where Amazon pays writers by the page. And so if you want to sell urban fantasy books, you put them in Kindle Unlimited and you write in series. Okay. But series also, I know authors who write Westerns in series. I know authors who write romances in series. Lots of romance writers write in series, especially Western romance writers. You know? Yeah, you know. Do you remember the old movie Seven Brothers for 7 Wives for 7 Brothers, something like that? Oh, that's 7 books right there. You know, 7 brides for 7 books. You know, that's gotta get them all married off, right? Okay. Next slide. This is my most successful series, Rosie O'Grady's Paranormal Bar and Grill. Wow. And I wrote this and I released it, and the first book, Shadowhunter. And I was hoping that it would do as well as some of my previous books. It sold about $10,000 the first month.
Wow.
And that was far and away better than any month I had ever had with all my previous books. And then it took off from there. And then New Mexico tax and revenue. There was mistakes for, you know, the wages of success, my son. Anyway, next slide. Go back. There we go. What makes a series? Multi-book continuity and development, series-wide conflict, an addictive world or setting, readers fall in love with characters. And it doesn't even have to be the main character. One of the things that I get in reviews a lot is that people like my side characters better than my main characters. I don't care, as long as they like some of them. A series arc, and it gives you the opportunity to reveal the characters gradually. You can, you know, one of the things that they tell you in writing school or the writing books is people want to see your characters develop and mature and, you know, grow and all this. Well, if you got 5 books, you got a lot of room for your characters to grow. And over time, as you get to know your characters and you're thinking about them and everything, you're thinking all these things. I mean, there's so much backstory that I've got developed for these ladies that no one will ever know about. But I, you know, thought about it when I was watering the cherry tree and, you know, driving to Santa Fe and things like that. But so, yeah, your characters really helps grow them that way. Next slide. How do you make a series work? Strong titles, strong endings. Titles, you notice, the reason I put these up there, they tell you that you need to brand your series. And if you look, anybody who read the first book or two of any of these series, when they see the 3rd book, the 4th book, they know what that book is. Okay. Give each character an arc, add side characters who grow and, you know, do things. Give each book a focus. The idea of leaving Little Nell tied to the railroad tracks and saying, wait till next time and see if she survives. People get awfully upset after they've thrown their Kindle against the wall and broken it. They want an ending to whatever the arc in that book is. You may have an overarching arc, but each book needs to tell a story that has a beginning, a middle, and an end. And one of the things that a lot of authors fail with is middle books need strong subplots. They need to capture people's interest. It can't just be a bridge from one book to the next. You know, I wrote this first book and then I know what's the ending is gonna be in book 5. And I just kind of, you know, wandered around and picked daisies and looked at the architecture and stuff through books 2 through 4. They'll never get to 5. You have to have a good story. Next. And why you write series? Reader engagement. Readers fall in love with the characters. The writers fall in love with the characters. I'm very open about the fact that I write for the money. I support my family on my writing. But if you don't enjoy it, then your readers won't enjoy it either. You know, advertising, marketing, read through increases the power of your advertising spin. I usually run ads almost continuously on Amazon for my first book in each of my series. I don't bother to advertise the later books, except when I launch. But the first book, if you get the first book sold, then I've got 4 more to sell. Okay. And then after the sales die off, because there's a definite arc to sales in the book world. When sales die off, 5-book omnibus for a discounted price. You know, these first 5 books here are $4.99 each, or you can get all 5 of them for $9.99. But that's not where I make most of my money on it. Most people don't spend $9.99 on a box set. They read it in Kindle Unlimited, and the total number of page reads is almost 2,000 pages. I actually make more money off that than I do off the sale. Binge culture. Netflix. Oh, yeah, we can take this 6-season series and, you know, watch it in less than 2 weeks, right? There are a huge number of readers, well, not a huge. There is a segment of the reading population that will not buy the first book until the end of the series is finished. They want it all. And I've talked with a number of other authors about this. The readers who buy box sets are different than the readers that buy individual books. And because it still shocks me that somebody will pay $9.99 for the 5 book set when they could read it under their subscription in Kindle Unlimited free. But no, they'll buy the set. Backlist exposure. When they finish first 5 here, they say, oh, I like this author. What else has he written? And they go to the next series and the next series. I get people leaving reviews or comments on my website saying, I read everything you write. A week or so ago, I announced I was releasing a new book next Sunday. And the last book I released was in June of 23. And the first comment I got was, finally.
I think that was me.
Different types of literary series. A single arc, Harry Potter, Song of Ice and Fire, Lord of the Rings. Episodic, often mysteries or thrillers. Agatha Christie wrote Miss Marple. She wrote Poirot. J.D. Robb has her in-depth mysteries. I think she's published 56 of those things now. The second series here, Standing Up with Million series, those are episodic. You can pick up the 4th one or the 5th one and read it without reading the first one, and the book would make sense. They're basically mysteries. And then interlinked, often romances, 7 Wives for 7 Brothers thing, cast of characters in the same world or setting, same family. There's one author I know who has a resort, beach resort in New England that, you know, every book is a summer romance of somebody, different characters, but summer romance in that same set, you know. So it doesn't have to be that you just, like Lord of the Rings was written as one book. And the publisher said, we're not going to publish a book that's 2,000 pages long. So they broke it into thirds. But doesn't necessarily have to be that. Major considerations. Who's the star? You have a star that in romances, after somebody gets married, I tried writing a romance once. You know, anybody who thinks that writing romance is easy has never tried to do it. And if they did it, they've never tried to sell it. I still remember a review that said, couple got together at 34%, I'm done. Huh? Anyway, loose ends from the previous books. You have to keep all of those, you know, keep track of all that stuff. And for some reason, even if you can't remember the name of your character one book to the next, your readers can.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
Or the publisher. Characters growth, I've talked about that already. The setting, you want an exciting world. You want a world that people want to be immersed in. Central conflict or premise. Okay. So, one is the single arc, outline the complete story arc from one to, you know, one end to the other. Identify the adventures or obstacles or outcomes. Character growth, central characters, new characters, villains. How many villains are you gonna have? In the Rosie O'Grady series, I got rid of the major villain at the end of book 3. Well, that's because I planned it as a trilogy. And nobody would let me leave it at that. My wife, for one, said, "You're making money hand over fist. Write another one." Episodic. Usually you have the same main character. It's like the book here, Alien Assassin. Main character is a cat burglar who runs a security company. Those people who do not accept her bid for security services are in trouble. Growth, some, but it's not always necessary. You think, you know, what kind of character growth did Hercule Poirot go through? Yeah. Or Miss Marple. I mean, Miss Marple's already 9 years old. One. Reveal different aspects of the character over time. And, you know, want people become friends with your characters if you've done a good job of writing characters. They want to sit down and have a beer with them, or you know, a cup of tea and crumpets or something. And so over time, as with anybody in your regular life, you get to know them better, you know. And that's where Watering the Cherry Tree gives you all these ideas, some of which you never use. But interlinked. Settings often what links the books: a resort town, hotel, island, sports team. I've got a friend who writes New Zealand rugby romances. And she writes long. She writes 500-page books. And she makes money. You know, she lived in New Zealand. Roz, I don't know, probably in her mid-60s now. She lived in New Zealand one year. And yeah, and so what links her books? New Zealand rugby. Another friend, 6 friends thrown into this situation. 2 of them get together in the first book, 2 more in the second book, 2 more in the third book, and they defeat the villain in the third book.
No.
So, I don't know, anybody here ever read a book by Nora Roberts?
Yeah.
Ever read the Dark Witch series? It's not just my opinion, but I know a couple of other friends of mine who read the series. Each of those books could have been 100 pages shorter if she didn't describe every meal that was cooked. I know she had a page count target, from her publisher. Anyway, endings. Each book should reach a satisfying conclusion. People hate cliffhangers. And with series, that's something we really have. Keep your cliffhangers to chapter endings, not book endings. Okay. Unanswered questions, though, make people pick up the next book. In one of the Rosie O'Grady books, after I think it's the second one, after the villain is defeated and everything seems to be fine, on the last page, a ally that she has a very uneasy relationship with says, "Oh, by the way, we didn't take care of so and so that we promised to, he got away." And she's standing there going, but. And so that sets up the third thing. Talk about omnibus editions, box sets. The buyers seem to be different. The last book in that series was published in 2020. Late spring 2020. That part of the reason I made so much money off of that is that's my pandemic series. But that series is still my bestseller. This month, books in that series is my bestseller. So I'm still picking up readers 5 years later, 4 years later. When the series sales tail off, get the new sales bump by bundling the series. That's when I do it. Whenever the series has tailed off, I think we did the box set for that. Already had 2 more series completed before we made box set. But one of the nice things nowadays, since the statistics seem to change every time you turn around, but last I saw, Amazon was responsible for selling something like 50% of all the books in the world. That includes fiction, nonfiction, textbooks, everything. But the thing about ebooks is they never get taken off the shelf. Barnes Noble, that book's been on the shelf for 8 weeks. They're sending it back. They're tearing off the cover and sending it back. So, next, marketing. I don't care if your publisher is yourself or Macmillan or Penguin Random House. If you want to make any money in books in the 21st century, you have to market them and you have to do it yourself because nobody else is going to do it for you. I've known people. Met a young lady at a conference in Baltimore. She was so excited that her first book, she showed it to me, this hardback science fiction book, was on the shelf at Barnes and Noble and this and that. And She'd been paid $20,000 advance. Yeah. And she's never published a second book. Only sold 4,000 copies. She thought that whoever the publisher was going to market. Their idea of marketing was to set up 2 or 3 book signings. That was it. In the series, even if I don't make bank on the first book, I can advertise, I can knock it down to 99 cents or even free. Get a book club or Book Barbarian or Robin Reads or one of the newsletters, you know. And get the first book in somebody's hands and sell the rest of the series. I make money on reviews build on first books over time. Shadowhunter now has 8,500 plus reviews. That's nothing. I mean, A Court of Thorns and Roses, which has just been banned by law in Utah. Yeah, they've had the Utah legislature passed a law that the governor signed specifically naming 13 books that are banned from school and public libraries in the state of Utah. But A Court of Thorns and Roses has 23,000 reviews, so I'm still but that helps as far as Shadowhunter was reviewed by an author named Charles Williams, who was a seminal author in urban fantasy field. And he reviewed books for fantasy and science fiction magazine. He reviewed the book favorably. And so I've got that review posted on the product site on Amazon. So anything you can do to push the books, you know, go to SouthWest writers meetings and finish your book and whatever you can. Like I said, book club, other promotional newsletters, Kobo, iBooks, Nook, etc. They all offer special promotions for first books in the series. And like I said, you get the first book in somebody's hands, did a good job writing it, they enjoy it. To read it through can be just spectacular. And then we get into the making your life easier stuff. The second book in the series, I don't have to do the world building. I don't have to introduce the characters. I don't have to do all that stuff that you have to do while trying to immerse your reader in the book and still not bore them with a huge info. So, you know, they're ready to just jump right in and see what the next adventure is. So that's the other thing. First in the series is always tough because you have to catch people's attention. You have to hook them. If they're getting into the second, third, fourth book in the series, they're already hooked. Vermont, California, I think just released a 38 book in our series. So, Robbie, are you ever going to write anything else? So, why? Downsides writing series. One of the things that's been promoted very heavily the last 2 or 3 years is something called rapid release. We're gonna make a lot of money right now. I'm gonna write 3 books or 5 books, and then I'm gonna release them 1 a month. Bang, 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 bang. Keep the momentum going, you know, keep everybody. You do that and you have to hope the first book doesn't pop because nobody will buy the second one. I have 2 books published that are standalones that are out there for 99 cents for anybody who wants them. That I don't do any promotion or anything else on because one of them I think may break even on the cover and the initial launch promotions by the year 3000. I check it every once in a while. I think last year it sold 17 copies. I'm glad I did not start writing the sequel to that at the time that I released it, because that would be wasted effort. So I said earlier, some readers won't start an incomplete series. And that's something that drives writers crazy. And, you know, I tell readers, if you do that, you are banking on the fact that the writer doesn't starve before he finishes the series that you want. You know, readers can become nasty about waiting for the next book. And they get extremely nasty about series that are abandoned without resolution. There's a traditionally published author that I'm fond of. Started a new series, published the first 2, and then her publisher said, no, we're not going to publish 3 books. Book was already written. It's sitting out there. She doesn't, the publisher has the rights to it, so she can't self-publish it. And all of her fans are going, but, yeah. I don't remember which book. I published it. Amazon book goes live at midnight on Sunday morning. Okay. I wake up 8, 9 o'clock, something like that. Check. I've already got a review, and I've already got emails asking when is the next book due. I just tell them I don't write fast. And then it's the thing of, you know, I could never do what my friend in California does. I could never write 38 books in a series because I get tired of writing in that world or writing that character. You know, if I don't have a story, I wrote a book last year that only 2 or 3 people have ever read. All of whom said it was an absolute disaster. And so it never got published. You know, what happens if you do that in a series? You know? At the end of it?
I think so.
Okay. Now we can go to that webpage. I'll show you the new one. As I said, I've got a book coming out next Sunday, the 18th. It's up for pre-order now on Amazon. And gentleman that's with us today, Chuck Holman, has a book that he's having on homelessness. And I thought that was interesting. The main character in this book is a street kid, 16-year-old homeless girl. And I got the idea from, I think it's a Netflix documentary called Street Kids. And in doing the research behind this book, this is fantasy. You know, I mean, she's wandering around Denver with a Japanese sword, and, you know, magic and this, that, and the other thing. But one of the statistics I came across is that in the United States now, there's 700,000 children between the ages of 13 and 17 that are living on the streets on their own. And so anyway, that's Katie Burns. There's living in a world of werewolves and vampires who are preying on street kids. So anyway.
Is she a slayer? Is she a slayer?
Can't hear.
Is she a vampire slayer, bad guy
Yes.
slayer? Yeah.
Okay. She's a tracker. In this world, in this world, magic is known. Vampires, shapeshifters, witches, magicians. But there's a compact between the magical world and the mundane human world that says that we will control our own. We will not allow our supernatural people to eat you or turn you into toads or so she works as a tracker for the Mage Guild, hunting down those rogues that are out there. And but then a master mage asks her, says that there's somebody summoning demons, and she wants his help. He wants her help in finding who the summoner is.
BR, we have 8 minutes left.
I have
Is it
8
okay to
minutes
open
of
it to
questions.
questions?